New review in the new space. Why, hello to all my fellow nerds. Yes, I am very happy to say that I am officially moved, my place is all settled in, and hopefully there will be a lot less train noise in the background between these takes. So now that I have the actual space to do this sort of thing that is Nerf, I am on a gallivanting spending spree when it comes to new blasters in the hobby. If you have any suggestions feel free to send it over into the comments section below. But for the sake of this review, we are going to talk about a blaster with a slightly unconventional build. Yes, today we are talking about the Skewer Bow, courtesy of Foamdemic, in collaboration with Tabby and Armatus? Yeah, from Caramel Designs. This is an integration of the Skewer along with the 1995 crossbow by Nerf. And unlike the 1995 crossbow, this thing will actually hit targets, and I would hope would be something of a threat on the battlefield. I haven't gotten the chance to chronograph it from the battlefield, but I did get the chance to chronograph it while I was at home, and this thing does hit a solid 190 to 210 FPS. Jade printed this blaster in my colors, and I gotta say it looks very nice, as well as attaching a 12-inch scar barrel, which when you put it through AF Pro darts can really hit some solid distance. It does have this draw of an SF25 spring in the back here, but as far as the front itself, it's way lighter than I had expected it to be. What's unique about this blaster is you have the backing here to keep this T-pull nice and protected. It does take a bit of a beating on your wrists though, so that's a little bit of a downside for the blaster, the bow specific, but it doesn't take away from the FPS that you're looking for by means of long distance. So now that this is dry primed, because I'm clearly a professional, I'm gonna pull this back a bit, and I'm gonna throw a good old AF Pro fed magazine in there. Push that forward. We're gonna go ahead and take a launch. I don't know if you caught that, but it sprung right back, as you would imagine for a 200 FPS blaster. You can load it by itself after it's been shot and not primed, or you can pull it back and put it in and then have it fully primed. There you go. So basically you can do it either way. Now, a common thing that I tend to do when it comes to blasters is double prime. Now, fortunately with the Skewer Bow is that if you double prime, it will launch out the 2 darts. It's not very likely for it to get stuck. It will get stuck, as I learned from first working with this blaster, thank you Ben, is if you pull it all the way back and you try to shoot it with it primed all the way back, the trigger will still go, the handle will still go, but your dart won't be seated properly, so it will absolutely most definitely get stuck, and then you will look like a fool. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons. Now, pros of the blaster. Again, in case I didn't say of the past 5 times while doing this review, is that it is stupid light. When I'm running around, particularly along the front, I don't know why I like doing this, but it's a thing. I don't know. But along the front, it's just crazy light. I did forget to mention that there is string power, and you'll notice this along the back here towards the grip and here along the magwell. But it does have string power as well as the SF25. So that is definitely a unique aspect to it. You don't see very many string powered blasters in the community, so this is a nice change of pace. But yeah, So that certainly helps with my prime, because when I'm trying to hit 200 FPS, 250, whatever you want to call it, I seem to have a hard time. So when it comes to the prime, I have to push a little bit, but at least with this backing here, unlike the skewer, it helps me to lock it in, push forward, and be ready to go. This tends to work best with any dart from the AF Pro line. I know they just put out another iteration of AF Pros, but I used, there we go, the standard grays that everyone I would imagine would be familiar with by now. This one is a little smushed in, so not the best quality, but you see where I'm getting at. But basically, any kind of AF Pro darts, these tend to work really well. All in all, and maybe it's just a me thing, but I like that the blaster is unique. A lot of people will look at the blaster and be like, oh, well, why would you get something like this where it's harder to prime, like slightly harder to prime? I tend to be a sucker for unique blasters, and this is just a callback to my actual childhood that I never had. It's just nice to see something from an age where I couldn't even speak words yet to run around on the field as a callback. So that is just really nice to have. Let's address some cons. This is string powered. You do have obviously your spring in the back here, but because there is spring motivation as well, if there's any breakdowns or any issues that come about on the field, something gets lodged, things like that, it's not just the spring, you're dealing with another component as well. So that could cause some issues repair-wise. Fortunately, I haven't had that experience, or at least I haven't had that experience yet, but that's definitely something to consider if you have specifics for blaster choice in the future. Another major one that I would say of this iteration of the skewer is when you're priming your blaster, and I'm going to do this properly this time. When you're priming your blaster, I'll put that in, I prime forward, and then I'll push it forward like that. You don't really see it so much in the camera, but if I turn to the side, if I'm priming while in the heat of the moment, I will turn it down and pull up and back. And what you'll notice is that it hits my wrist. That's not my wrist. It hits my wrist pretty well. And because I tend to play aggressive and I tend to jump right into the heat of the battle, I'm doing this a lot. And to my wrist, it can bruise your wrist pretty quickly. Yeah, definitely consider a wrist wrap or some kind of protection for your arm if you do look into buying this, because yeah, you may risk in getting some good bruising down the road. So yeah, I still love it. That doesn't change for me. It's just a really nice blaster, and I really wish there was more out there. I was surprised that there weren't as many vendors of the Skewer Bow. You have a ton for the skewer, obviously, because it's the skewer, but not as much for the bow. So maybe the blaster was just meant for me. I don't know. I got a lot of questions and interest for it, so the interest is definitely out there. I just hope that more people are able to get their hands on it. So that is the Skewer Bow. Be on the lookout for more vlogs and gameplay and reviews in the future. It'll be a little less of life and it'll be more of Nerf itself. I feel like with COVID anyway, I feel like that's kind of the trend we're going on to, unless I've lost my mind at this point. But I do feel like that's the trend that we're going on anyway, where people are getting back to Nerf, and a lot of new people are exploring what this whole Nerf shebang is about. And I plan to bring the hype again. So, a little less on the life, a little more on the Nerf. With that said, until next time, this is Archer, reminding you to stay classy, stay awesome, stay safe, stay healthy, all that fun jazz. And I can't wait to see you on the battlefield. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers.